Yeah, for some reason my phone has been very, very laggy. I don't understand why, but there's the car. Got a little, it's a little messy right now, but that's kind of it. I took the filter off. I was actually cleaning it, so you'll have a filter in here in this section, but same with the cover just goes on top. But to give you a little perspective or a little heads up with what's going on here, what's with the car. So the intake is a 3-inch intake that goes, or the pipe itself that is the same diameter as the turbo inlet. Your CTS catch can adapter plate to CTS plate. I did have an external oil cooler before, but the adapter plate, it was basically a sandwich plate that would go between the oil filter and the original plate, if you want to call it that. It was leaking, the gasket was leaking, so I removed it. So it's a little bit, it's tucked away right there. That's kind of like the project. It doesn't hurt anything, nothing, you know, it doesn't do anything right now. So the oil cooler is actually right about there, somewhere in there. It's in there. So what else? I'm just gonna, there we go. So that came off a little bit. What else? All of the vacuum lines I've updated with the, or upgraded with the fuel lines actually, because they kept them blowing off on me and just getting destroyed. The valve cover is also powder coated the exact same color as the intake. It's a little bit dusty and dirty right now, but it is pretty red. I think it's called the cherry red. That is the exact powder coating. All the sponsors and kind of all the shops that helped me build this back in the day. There are a few sponsors like DI, where's HBA Motorsports. HBA is there somewhere. Have some APR parts, ACH, that's actually where the turbo kit came from. That's Stratified Tuning, that's the Fuel Racing, that's where I buy all my fuel from. Stop Take brake pads, H&R Springs, kind of a lot of different companies that send me a bunch of stuff for free or kind of help me through this build process. BBM, that is where the adapter plate came from. They actually sent it to me for free for like kind of like a trial run, but unfortunately I didn't really like it all that much. But yeah, the build itself is very simple if you think of it that way, I guess, in terms of everything else. This is the hard line for methanol injection. So they're direct port injection injectors, 4 total, and one kind of see if the camera will pick it up, but it is down here somewhere. I'm just not picking it up. What else? That's it for the engine bay, really. There's nothing really to it. The intercooler is a 3.5-inch intercooler that is, oops, that literally stops right about here. It's a 600 horsepower intercooler. These are Yankee RPF 1s with Falcon 225/40 18s. They are 615Ks. I think that's what they are. RT 615K, yeah. K pluses even. So it's a sticky tire to give you kind of a understanding what the tire is like if you've never had these tires before. They are very sticky when they're warm. Very, very sticky when they're warm. They have stiff sidewalls, so it rides very flat and planted. So that's kind of about the tires, really. Nothing too crazy. All right. Interior, pretty simple. I didn't clean it or anything like that. It's just been sitting for probably since midsummer. I drove it only 1,500 kilometers at most. That's the current mileage, so 164,000 kilometers to be exact. This is my kind of like methanol control center, if you want to call it that. So this turns on the pump, turns on the fail safe, it's just blinking like that for now, and turns on the dash cam at the same time. It just wired all in together. If you press this button, it turns on the relay, which turns on the other 4 nozzles that I showed you earlier. So you don't need to run those, the pump is running there. Cob system, very simple, nothing crazy. It is actually a very good system in my opinion. Here's how it looks right now, and I'll just start it up. Starts right up. Obviously no check engine lights or anything like that. That's the whole point of the car. Yeah. I'm actually gonna shut it off real quick. They have a meeting upstairs, but it is a very easy car to drive. I'll just turn it on. It has a pull-out backup camera. There you go. So something that not a lot of Volkswagens have. Interior is, well, it's an interior. There's nothing really crazy about it. It's tinted. Windows are tinted. They're 20% tint. Something that I really like. It's a personal preference more than anything. Stock seats. They're bucket seats. I really like those. I will clean it up a little bit to make it nice and shiny and make it nice and pretty, to say the least. But yeah, that's pretty much like a rough kind of 5-minute video or whatever, 10-minute video of what the car is like. It is much better to see it in person. But everything works. Everything, it starts right up. There's no issues with it whatsoever. I did add a couple little touches, like LED lights on the side here. Instead of side markers, they're really ugly. These are nice and bright and yellow. Little LED bulbs in here as well. And then all the bulbs front and back are upgraded as well. So the back is actually, the back is your typical Euro, I think they're Golf R taillights or whatnot. I don't know if these are original or not, but nonetheless, they look really, really good, and they really do like them. Basically, just to give you a perspective, the car just needs an owner. I can teach you everything about this car once you get here, but until then, this is kind of a quick overview. It does have a few little rock chips here and there, kind of, nothing crazy, it's very minor. Like this one right here, I think there's like a little rock chip there or whatnot. It's a 10-year-old plus car, right? So it will have some imperfections, but you have to look really close for them. For the most part, it's a phenomenal car. I've driven it quite a bit. When I first bought it, I bought it with 50,000 kilometers. It was like 15 change, so it definitely had some miles on it. But maintenance wise, I do oil changes just every 5,000, depending on how I drive. If I drive a little bit more aggressive, sometimes it's literally like oil change every time I drive out. I have a guy that does or sells me oil for cost, so it costs me like $40-50 at most, which is literally half of what you would pay anywhere else. So it's for me $50 every time I leave, especially now that I don't really drive this car very often. It just makes sense to do that. Spark plugs, they're 2 steps colder. That is something you have to be very meticulous about, and you have to adjust them as well. So I think they're 0.22 of a mil. I can teach you how to do all that if you don't know. I can even give you a tool if you need to. It's not a big deal. It was a learning process, to say the least. It's a tight car to work on because the turbo is so big. You can't see it from the top, but when you go underneath, I can send you a picture later on and kind of show you how that setup looks like. Just remember, this car, this build is only, when I talk to HPA, this is kind of, take it as a grain of salt. They've only seen 3 and know of 3 in Canada. So 1 being me, 1 being in Vancouver, and 1 being in Toronto. So it's rare, if you want to call it that, but also you have to know what you're getting into. It's been extremely reliable with me so far, but I drive it conservatively, and I drive it, if I ever go and like want to have some little bit of fun, it's only on the highway. So the load on the engine is very small.